Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt invisible? I mean, you're technically together, but you feel more alone when you're with them versus when you're by yourself. That constant emptiness, that's emotional starvation. And here's the thing, it's not always obvious because you might think, well, they're not actually treating me poorly, so why do I feel so unfulfilled? That's what we're going to talk about today. Let's get started. Emotional starvation isn't about being needy or being dramatic. It's about having basic human needs such as affection, attention, and connection, and yet not having those basic needs met. Dr. Sue Johnson, a leader within EFT, shares that we are wired for connection. So when the emotional bond and the emotional connection that you have with your partner, when it feels unsafe or when it feels unavailable, that can trigger a panic internally within you. So if you're constantly finding yourself craving love, connection, intimacy, or even validation at times, this is a clear sign that something essential is missing from your relationship. Now, here are 5 important signs to look out for to see if this is what you're experiencing. Sign number 1 is that you feel invisible in your relationship. So let's say you share something important about your day and your partner barely even moves an inch, barely looks up, isn't paying attention. Eventually, you start to not share as much. You start to close up about certain things. You start sharing those things with maybe other people because you don't feel like you're genuinely going to be heard or have your partner feel excited for you the same way you probably would for them. The second sign is that affection, it feels one-sided or it's just non-existent. So maybe you're always the one reaching out, initiating, planning quality time. And then you notice that if you don't, or if you stop doing that, you find that they're not going to be the ones to step up. Sign number 3 is when your conversations start to feel very surface level. You talk about chores, bills, your schedules, but you don't talk about your dreams, your fears, your innermost thoughts, what's really going on for you. Research studies show that couples who regularly turn inwards towards each other for what they term bids for connection, small attempts for attention or intimacy, well, they have stronger, longer lasting relationships. When those bids for connections are ignored consistently over time, intimacy decreases and emotional starvation, that increases. Sign number 4, you start to feel like you're too much. Your presence is too much. Your excitement is too much. Your questions are too much. So whenever you ask for reassurance from your partner or for quality time to be spent together, you're made to feel like you're being too clingy, too demanding. And when you have a partner who diminishes your basic needs for connection, it almost makes you believe that you shouldn't have those basic needs. And you definitely should. And we all do. And sign number 5 is you're emotionally exhausted. So instead of feeling refueled, recharged, happy after spending time with them, you feel drained, anxious, or you're constantly second guessing yourself. So if listening to these signs, you're like, yep, that's me. Yep, that's me. Yep, that's me. I want you to know that these aren't small things. And no, they may not be outright abusive and toxic. They still have lasting impacts because your emotional needs are real needs. And ignoring them is like acting like you don't need water every day to survive. Let's talk about why this can even happen. Why is it that sometimes we end up in relationships with partners who just don't meet our basic emotional needs and don't want to? Well, we have to understand that sometimes when we're in a relationship with someone, they might not have had those things modeled for them from a young age. And by those things, I mean emotional connectedness, genuine quality time spent together, being emotionally vulnerable. In other cases, this may be based off attachment styles. So if you're in a relationship with someone who's more dismissive, avoidant, then when things get too emotional, too vulnerable for them, they have to go and retreat almost because it feels too risky for them. It's too overwhelming for them and they cannot stay. So they create distance. They find excuses to leave. And this is inevitably going to leave their partner who wants that connectedness. It's going to leave them sort of starving for that emotional connectedness that they should be getting, but they're not. We also have to bring in cultural family dynamics. These play a big role. In some homes, love was shown through survival, through self-sacrifice, not through words, not through touch. Those dynamics, they get carried on to adulthood. Another reason could be that they really don't genuinely love or care about you. Or maybe they stopped loving or caring about you, which does happen. Now I'm going to give you 4 things that you can do. The first is I want you to recognize that this is where you're at in your relationship. You are emotionally starving, emotionally exhausted, emotionally unfulfilled in your relationship. You have to acknowledge it. You have to call it out for what it is. If you continue to ignore it, if you continue to not address it, the other steps won't help. You're not being too needy. You're having some of your important basic needs in a relationship unmet by the one person that you want it from. Number two, I want you to communicate clearly. And you might be thinking, okay, well, I've already done that. I've communicated. I told them what I need and what I want and what they're not doing. Back it up for a little bit. Communicate your needs clearly. Try again if it's worth it for you. I want you to practice using direct but gentle. Don't forget the gentle part. Gentle language. So for instance, I feel disconnected when we don't spend time together. And what I need is more quality time with you. Number three, I want you to learn to rebuild with small, consistent steps. Instead of expecting a huge shift in their behavior overall overnight, this can start with small daily practices. So for instance, both of you agreeing that you're going to work on spending 5-10 minutes together when you both get home from work, or whatever makes sense for you in your dynamics. Maybe you're long distance, and so you've agreed that we need to work harder on spending quality time together because we're long distance. Small, consistent daily practices. Don't expect a complete overnight shift. That's unrealistic, and it is going to set you up for failure. If you're finding yourself that you're constantly expressing your needs, you're communicating clearly and gently and directly, you're making plans for the both of you to actually work on these things. If you're doing all these things and you're recognizing that your partner's not willing to change, that your partner's not putting in the effort at all, this is going to be a clear sign that they don't want to, and they're choosing not to meet your needs. And unfortunately, this is where tough decisions need to be made. And of course, implement couples therapy before that. Implement different things that you can try to work on it. I'm not for just giving up flat out. But most of the time, you're going to come to find that most people don't just give up out of the whim. They don't just say, oh, okay, well, you didn't meet my needs today, so I'm gone. For most people, it takes months, years of expressing their needs to their partner, of crying out, of explaining to them, of talking to them, even of therapy, and still nothing. Most people don't come to the decision of moving forward with their lives lightly. If you get to this point, there are going to have to be tough decisions that are made. And listen, I know this is difficult. This isn't easy to get to the point where you say, okay, I've tried everything I could, but you're just not wanting to meet me in this way. And so now I have to ask myself real questions and make real decisions. But remember that starving yourself emotionally isn't love. It's self-abandonment and choosing to be in relationships where your needs are met. Not 100%, but at least the most basic ones are met. That's how you start choosing yourself. And that's how you have thriving, healthy relationships. So please remember that emotional starvation, this is a real thing. Relationships, they're supposed to be a place of safety, not a place of emptiness. So I'd love to hear in the comments what your thoughts are. And also if you've ever experienced being emotionally starved within maybe your friendships or previous relationships or current relationship. How is it that you're working on this? What's one thing that you're going to implement to help? And if this video was helpful for you or spoke to you in any way, shape, or form, please consider subscribing, liking, and also leaving me a comment down below about that, as it will help me know that these are the type of videos that you want to see. If you're still interested in watching more of my videos, you can click this playlist or that playlist right there. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.